Hey, there we go.
Claims today.
I think there was one like they had. Somebody said that they had pretty big hail up in Summitville. Ours was pretty small.
Yeah, it was.
I heard it.
He just finished all that,
Oh, yeah.
but that's not our insurance agents fault, but it was just so, they're still putting
The process.
roofs on in our neighborhood. And then,
Well, wait till Friday. We got more to come from Santa Fe.
Oh, really?
it's all that.
Been very large hail possible.
Someone was telling me there's a thing in Texas where they can they put this thing over their vehicles and it
Like bubble wrap.
like a bubble wrap thing because they get so much hail. We did that in some of those damn we get here.
The insurance people do that.
What?
Carry that bubble wrap with them. See.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I've never heard of such a thing. We've got deer whistles, but nothing like that.
City says they are in Alexandria and will be there shortly.
Okay.
Are you ready? Dawn?
Yeah, I actually got it.
All right, we'll call our February 23rd Alexandria Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Eric, could you call the roll of members, please?
On the other sheet, there's it at the bottom.
Underline them on the paper.
Right there.
On top.
Okay. President Mike Latchall.
Here,
Brian Donahue. Absent. Aaron Zarcy here. Eddie Stevens,
Here.
Lindsay Cuneo, Amy McCurry,
Present.
Alan Moore,
Here. Sydney is on her way.
Mindy, okay.
we have minutes for February 23rd meeting. Oh, no, yeah, all right, yeah, February 23rd. I say our meeting's February 23rd, beginning of March.
It's March 20th.
Yeah, March 23rd, not February. Sorry. Anyway, minutes for February 23rd. Everyone look those over. Got any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I'll abstain since I was present. Thank you again.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Everybody in favor? Say aye.
Second.
Second.
You did?
No, you need one.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I made the
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
I made the minutes and
Have a
motion.
second?
I wasn't here, so I abstained.
Aaron, hold on a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, minutes are passed. Okay, financial update.
BD's regular invoice, $1,302.75. Rob is here today to give us an update on the business part.
The motion to approve that.
I'll make the
invoice.
motion to approve that and pay it.
Here, second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, it's approved. Full business,
What was the dollar amount again?
1302.75.
It's been a Monday. I just one of those too.
This is your
You
jacket.
can sit up here if you want. You don't have to. Okay.
Yeah, I had a hearing.
There you
go.
You're up, I do. You doing this one? Or do you see-
So, I don't know if we have any update on the GM building status. Last I heard, we're waiting to, it's got a tax amount to it, and we are gonna have to see how it comes out for the sale, and then ultimately could ask for the commissioners to waive the tax should we get possession of the building.
Yeah, and so the process that you're really looking at is My understanding was the last discussion was the building
Waiting on
inspector
building.
commissioner was going to go and say, this is vacant and here's the stuff that needs to be improved. Because what you want to do is under the statute is when you do that and something comes up on the tax sale, you can give them the list of, okay, the gym building's up on tax sale, but here are all the things you need to do in order to bring it up to make sure that it's occupancy worthy. And so any potential buyer sees this list of things that need to be done. You need to go through the process of citing it, condemning it, or making a final determination, and then putting it on. that
Even if
list.
it's condemned, you have to do that.
We have to condemn it. That's the order to condemn it.
So you go and get the order to condemn it, and then you put the list out there. That way, you put everybody on notice. Here are the deficiencies that we have for this building.
Then the planning department is the one that condemns.
Then it'll be brought down. That's what, last month we were trying to decide how long it would take. So it just has to go to planning commission first with recommendation to the council. They make, or no, that he's able to move with that.
He's able
With that
to-
motion, he can move
Yeah.
with a notice and getting it one step closer. But that's the first step.
Because the planning commission acts as the hearing body for
Okay.
those reservations.
I mean, I don't know if the building commissioner did that. I know he's going to. I know we talked about where the keys are. I don't know if he did it or not.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, we'll just want to follow up with, I know I had sent him, because there were 4 different addresses. And so let me see my last message to him. Oh, yeah, on that day I sent Jam Building and all the 4 different addresses. So that because there are 4 different addresses, that would have to be 4 condemnations based on the 4 different parcels. So he'll have to be able to inspect all of those to be able to bring them to planning.
And those are all at the jam location?
Yes, that's correct. One of them faces Washington Street, but yeah, it
Okay.
includes Jam. If I think.
Does the
No,
building
that's
commissioner serve that notice?
Yes, I've seen all of them but one. The one that used to be the church. I've not had the ability to go in that one, but yeah, those 3 I've seen.
And then I'll ask questions as we get closer.
Mr. Ross Parks is here tonight from the CED, so he's going to give us a little business park update. Evening.
He got the time of year, right?
Thank you.
He must not have a hearing. He walked in and said, good morning. At least you know time of day, right?
And just for the record, we've got to get the website changed. The website says 5:45. We actually are preparing something. So we've just been dragging around Alexandria. Actually, we need to make that to kill time. That's a surprise, 'cause we thought we were-
We've had that discussion before.
Hey, Rob, it's all yours.
What you got in here is first kind of a summary of the year in review, and it also kind of shows the breakout of the project leads that we've had this year. And kind of the categories, page by page. There's quite a bit of data in this, and I'm happy to cover any specifics with you guys as you get a chance to review, or we can, when I come back next month or whatever, if that would help you, once you had some time. But the leads in general have been down. Probably tariff uncertainties has done some of that. The presidential change out kind of has upset the market across the entire area for us, but that's just the sector. We are seeing more activity right now than what we have. I've got 3 projects that we've been kind of filtering with the Alexandria project. Still working with the attorneys on trying to get some final agreements with property owners for annexation. It's been a whole lot more difficult than I ever expected it to be. for a variety of reasons. Each owner's kind of kept their own little twist to that. So we've got a challenge now where we've got to produce a economic impact model for the town before an annexation can be heard. So we're gonna need to figure out how to get that funded in light of everything going on with the council right now. I worked when I was at the city of Anderson. I think our city engineer actually wrote our plan for an annexation that we did. So I don't know if you guys have any counsel, we can discuss this next week about our options rather than having the fiscal body write it. But that's gonna be another hurdle, but we're gonna work on that. We'll report back next month more on that detail.
Who's that go to?
It's gonna have to be presented to the council in a public meeting for any annexation. So it's a fiscal impact study that has to go with properties that are coming in.
Is that
And in light of the current situation financially, that's gonna be scrutinized regardless of having it, but you know, what is the impact? So.
Rob, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I'll wait, I'll save the question for the end.
Okay. And you can look through this, it kind of shows sectors, it does kind of show the expenses that have incurred, what was paid, what the cities put toward those expenses. We had about, to get to the direct cost, we had about 70,000 in direct cost of park development. That's not counting staff time. We've had a couple 200 leads that we submitted. And I think the actual site visits were what? Somewhere around 50, yeah, 17. She filled out 64 RFIs, a total of 221 leads, and we had about 12 site visits since we've been working on this. So I sent with you in that second packet. On the back. This is a short form RFI that we would fill out on those leads. And this does not take a lot of time to do. Typically, there's just general information. The other one is a subpart of about 400 questions that we're currently doing on it that shows kind of the level of detail of the questions. You would typically think all this could be standardized, but I swear they ask questions as different as people are different. And some of the information can be used, but you got to recreate a document every time they ask questions. So this gives you a sample of some of the work that we do just on a daily basis, trying to submit this stuff back. We work with our state partners, our local partners, and occasionally we got a friend in DC that'll answer a federal question if we have a particular question that we need on that. So I think the last piece that I really have, I showed this before. This big book is the park when we did the shovel-ready application. So that will be needed to be updated just because of time expiration. But that document was what that, probably that 70,000 roughly was spent to create that. Besides the help, I mean, our staff wrote that book. So they created all the documents and put it all together. So a lot of work. This would be a typical, I'm going to send this down the road and we can just pass it off real quick. But this is a typical site visit, the one we did out here. That kind of just shows the park, the project, typically have a project name and generally an overview of what's going on, the details specific to that particular lead. So it kind of shows proximity. A lot of that stuff can be standardized depending on what their focus is. If, there's a rail need, it's going to be probably more pulled out. There's the transportation modeling off the highways and stuff like that, so.
I know when we first started that park, that Indiana Michigan was involved with
Yeah.
a lot of, tell us how that was or happened or how it came about.
Well, they're always out trying to help create spots for their team because they have economic development folks that one form that I said had about 400 questions is actually one that they're working right now. So they have large site developments that they try to find as well. So they help supplement some of those funds. That's kind of itemized on back of that financial sheet. So they partner with us and other communities to kind of develop shovel-ready sites. So answer the geotech questions, soil composition, usually phase ones and sometimes phase twos, depending on what the documents came out on. Environmental survey of the properties. Those type of questions related to what's it take to actually get the property developed.
So, okay. So 11 years, 12 site visits.
16 maybe, but yeah,
Okay.
whatever that was.
Okay. Who actually owns the land? Do the farmers
Property owner. yes.
still owns the land? Okay. And what utilities are? No utilities are there,
Yeah, you got sewer pipe out there and you got water pipe out there.
the sewer and the water pipe out there.
Yeah, they're feeding Poet. They run pretty much through that park.
Okay. And electric, that's what we're talking about. No electric.
They've got a substation north of Poet that they ran, if you guys remember, they redid their loop around Madison County. What, 19 and 20 or 21, I think, during COVID. And so they're come across the south end out of this down here by the railroad track. I get the name of that substation and they run across and then up 100 until they get to past Poet to that substation. And then it cuts back across, I think, so.
Okay.
And it's only got about 9 megawatts. So for a normal manufacturing, that would not be, that would be a usable point and it can be ratcheted up, but any major power, they're going to have to bring in bigger transmission lines for that. So I don't know. I think they're going to have probably a threshold around 25 megawatts is probably what that park could pull. So a lot of, moderate sized manufacturing operations, that would be sufficient. But a data project is, let's say a gigawatt. That's not going to supply all those lines. They have to come from a different way.
Okay, so question. So with what is there and with who owns it and with what is the likelihood that somebody will? I mean, a percentage wise, that it's going to be
I think
attractive.
it's highly likely that we can put a project together. Question is timing, and no one knows that. From the Nestle project until the next project was 10 years. So the time span is not an unusual thought. Working with property owners that you basically they're allowing you to market their property. They're not getting anything of any substantial. We got very minimal options. But they're willing to help the community to try to create opportunity. So we partner with them to try to advance the project that way. From a statistical standpoint, we think the annexation component has been part of the struggle. But some of the property owners have some reluctance in coming in the city. So through a course of several months of negotiating position is like, we come into the city, we help cover that cost of tax increase. But then if it doesn't develop, they have the right to withdraw at the end of 5 years, which I think we can get through that process. Trying to pin the assessor down on how the property assessments were very difficult. Several months of trying to actually get a workable scenario that would be satisfactory to the property owners. So certainly it would have been, one concept was, can we just annex it or just develop it in the county and not have to worry about the annexation piece? But you still got a zoning class issue. Some of the projects we had were big enough that annexation could have been incorporated in the process. But they're getting very competitive. And so in public meetings, they're getting not very good anywhere. And so the idea that you have to have this property goes through possibly 4 more public hearings, processes or meetings to get the annexation complete before you can do all the rest, just gives the project that much more exposure to get knocked down. And if they have another site that's already zoned properly, then they don't have to go through those. They probably still got to go through a variance meeting and final approval. Those, you're never going to have a place where someone can just move in and nobody says anything. That's not going to happen anywhere. But the more meetings you have to have, the harder that is getting to be, or it's a bigger disqualifier. So we're just trying to think, how do you thread this needle and make it work for everybody?
So how far does it get into it before people have a say-so about what, because I know you have non-disclosures, all of those things, but, you know, we don't want to just take the first thing that comes along for a win. What if it's something that's not a good match with Alexandria? How far would that?
We filter a lot
You
of
will
that
do
on the
that
front
for
end.
us? Okay.
But we don't do that in a vacuum without the mayor, Alan, Mike, and we would do, in this particular case, if it involves a redevelopment commission, we would have an executive session to disclose what we had. You'd have the ability to walk through without maybe having to disclose the name of a company, but you want to know the purpose. We're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be cognizant of the fact that this is your community, not mine.
No,
Okay?
and I didn't
We're here to
mean
help.
you specifically.
No, I get it, I
wanted
get
to
it.
make sure I cleared that
So,
up.
but we also know that, you know, there's some thoughts, you know, data stirred a lot of emotion. It creates opportunity, but it creates a lot of drama too. And the questions about how does this impact the community in light of the current financial condition of the city. We've looked really hard at how you gotta have to have a zero impact. It almost has to be a plus situation from the very beginning to even have the ability to get through the processes. Like,
We've got a lot of obstacles within, yeah.
I understand. And I want, and we watch that just to figure out how to, when I say thread the needle, I think that's the best way to describe it. How do we get to where we can produce some jobs? You guys need the AV. So the idea of developing this county would not be in your best interest. We want that in the city limit because we need commercial development AV to help correct your tax assessment and to be able to generate the revenues.
So is there, how do I say this?
Just
Is the city holding us back?
I think I would, if I had one ask for the city is, or for this board rather, because I'm not talking to the city, but indirectly is we need to smooth this financial picture out. So the question is, would a company come in and sign into typically we would write an agreement between what the community would do and what the city would, what the company would do. Well, you know, I'm going to use the word insolvent, but I don't know if that's an accurate term, but the unknown nature of the finances. If I get too far, please correct me. I'm not trying to be offensive. That just raises one more level. And if I got 3 communities and this one over here has got books that we can't figure out where they're at, what's the likelihood of them wanting to do that? I don't want to put pressure on folks, but I mean, if we can solve that.
Well, we have to have an honest conversation.
yeah, and that's.
Right. And if we have the ability to, you know, solve the annexation issue with writing a business plan or getting a partner to help us with that and get that presented, then that's a zero impact. And then we can start moving that direction. Maybe that makes economic sense to get us where we need. We talk regularly. I mean, we understand the urgency of trying to attract some additional folks to help lift financially, but that isn't going to solve any problem in probably 24 months because it takes a while for these things to turn around and we pay taxes in arrears. So anything that comes in is probably 2 years out before you ever see any revenue from it.
So I have a question as far as, and this may be more Alexandria than county, but is the only thing we're trying to reach for is this park? Because I get people on lately, weekly, reaching out to me asking, wanting something downtown, wanting to put a business in either on 9 or here. And we're talking small businesses, but there's not places to put them. So would that then be more on our end of things to do as far as, or are there places, are there things that you do along that line as well, or are most of yours going to be for the big picture park?
Well, all of ours is commercial development and manufacturing operations, and we're working with another company who's in the early stages of possibly looking at a former site up here that could be repurposed into another operation, produce some jobs, and they are aware of that as well, and we're very anxious to see how that's gonna work out. But as far as Main Street's concerned, or housing, which I think both of those, you got a lot of potential downtown if we can figure out a way financially to fix that. I think the the development down here by the golf course demonstrates the fact that there is a market for housing and quality homes, and that is a great sales point. So we just got to kind of get a fiscal strategy to turn the corner.
So we need to do our part too here, not
They
just
gotta
rely on
have
the
to make-
county for
Gonna have
this.
to make a decision to set a stage to move forward.
Sure.
And then figure out how these other pieces incrementally can go together. And then if we get a significant win that helps change that dynamics financially, I think getting some housing attracted. I think we're on a good strategy on some utilities. I know we have, that may sound shocking, but I think there's a pathway there that would appear to be, some of our towns do not have a capacity to even bring more housing in. And that's a real problem because you're going to change the dynamics of your community by attracting more households and more rooftops with household incomes. So, I mean, I think, and I don't want to dominate this side of the table, I'm sorry, but I think from a strategy standpoint, I would be thinking about those things and how that all fits together. COG is a tool, metropolitan planning organization for the county. Has got some great guys who come up and do some charrettes and create a strategy for downtown. Might be a plus. I don't know. Those are things that I'd probably think about on the short term, say, hey, because companies do want to help be a part of a community. I haven't met one that didn't want to do that. So the question then comes back to is what's the vision of what we're trying to accomplish? And yeah, treading water is okay, but we need to figure out how to.
Well, the school, I mean, we have so many students who transfer in, again, because there's so little housing. So we have kids come from North Anderson. I mean, a lot of, families are transporting kids in, and actually we send a bus out kind of far. So housing is definitely.
I think it's a good opportunity, and then that leads to retail.
Yeah.
And then, Mike and I talked about historic preservation for, I don't know, years. How to figure out how to turn some of these downtown buildings back into, you probably got the remnants of the best downtown we have. Pendleton's gotten a nice couple blocks. You guys probably got more spread out buildings in general, but if they don't get some financial investment, they're all gonna be crumbling. So.
Well, some issues. Do you find acreage being correct? I mean, as far as.
Yeah, I mean, we got one project was looking for, I think that one is looking for around 200 acres or 220. And another project was sitting about 270, and that's probably on the big side, but.
If you do split it like that, is that a problem at the end of?
It's got a topography component that's kind of got 3 different levels, but not huge variances, but enough that you're gonna have it. We would start on the northwest corner up by Poet and work our way across and then down is the way we typically would develop out. Trying to keep an open eye on the railroad spur to be able to feed an additional site, even if the first project isn't rail. So.
Okay, so did I hear you say that the one thing we need to seriously think about doing is getting the plan together to annex it, getting that plan?
Well, we're gonna
a
work
plan?
with these guys.
Okay.
I think it's a no-go to go to the council and ask for money to do that. So we're gonna need to find a pathway to make that happen. All right. Because without that, I can't do the annexation. And without doing the annexation, it's kind of a trickle down thing. I think we are close to satisfying the needs of the property owners. We still have some stuff to kick back and see what their lawyers say and that type of thing. So it's been difficult, but we haven't missed a project, and I would never show a project that I didn't know the property owners were willing to walk down the road with. And that's happened on every project that we've had. So from that aspect, I felt we're not missing an opportunity, but I think if we get that annexation solved, that would just give us one more less hurdle. So.
I know you get most of your leads from going through the state, correct?
Yeah, it's broke out in the report where they come from.
Do you find of advertising of any sort is helpful?
The bulk of the successes that we've had have always come from relationships that we know. So blanket marketing doesn't necessarily help. So that becomes thinking about how that network of people, that's where the rail folks come into, because they've got another whole sphere of people calling them about projects. I think the tariff decision, regardless of where you're at politically, there was some on the bubble, but the fact is there are going to be tariffs. It's going to be most of the latter ones are rewritten a different way. And I think you're going to continue to see a lot of smaller company hits, 100 acres, 70 acre. I think you're going to see a lot of those. Those are 10 to 30 to $50 million projects that will be moving into the US marketplace. So I'm still pretty optimistic that that's a place where we can score some. And we've talked, do you go for the behemoth project, or do you try to get several base hits and build a multiple, a bit more of a resilient economy? I think we're looking for investment, but job count being the two most important things. And then how do you, if it's all about assessment and you don't have any jobs with it, you do solve part of your problem, but if it's a one company, then you're really top heavy. If something in their model changes, and you've already committed your part. So.
Have you found that signage like you do for a flagship a little bit different because how the roads are, interstate and all that stuff? Would you see that signage would be helpful out there?
Well, we have the sign out on 28.
Right.
I'm not overly, most of the folks that are looking, we're on the state website. And that's where most virtually all these companies are searching all that database. I think AI is going to change this whole sector, and I keep telling the gals in the office. I think the search process is going to change. I think the mid-tier site selector folks are probably going to disappear. So we're trying to ramp up more and more data online for those search engines to find in order to, possibly locate a lead earlier for us, that they might find Alec, because they may very well scan sites prior to ever calling anybody or hiring anybody. Or someone's going to make a widget where you can punch in your criteria and it's going to list out 10 properties. Well, we want to be on that list because there's not going to be any human talk. It's going to be pulling data off of the web.
And then when they do come to visit Alexandria for that's the other thing. It goes back to years ago when they said that we had a big investor come through town, and they said, they looked around and said, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why would I invest here? And so that just sticks with me because there's so many other options and things that we do need to do on a smaller scale in order, I feel like, to want to invite people. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's bigger modules, and maybe I'm just thinking, again, on the smaller scale, but
To be attractive.
yeah, I mean, you can put signs out and expect someone to drive up 28. If they're driving up 28, they're coming into town. They're coming into town, it needs to look good. It needs to look like we care about things too. So that's where that reminded me of that being said, because if they're in town and on 28, they're familiar with our town. So as far as the signage on 28, I agree with you as far as it's a broader thing. They're looking elsewhere if they're that big of an investor before they probably ever step foot here.
So, yes, I think that's real. I mean, virtually all these folks drive town before. Sometimes it's a drive-by and they're just covering 15 sites. That's gonna happen in Anderson next week at a site. And they literally will be at the site 15 minutes, so they're in town and out of town. I had another company who is looking at another place in the county, and they want the city to tell them how do they envision their city to look. That is a new way of asking that question that I've not experienced until this project. But I think that's got something to do with the pushback that projects are getting at the approval level. And that is, they want to be seen as a partner accomplishing what the councils in the town, the people that got elected want to see happen, rather than them coming in and saying, I'm going to do this and you need to do that. So there may be some, the silver lining of this cloud is it may open up a better communication but that's what we're having, a small vision of this is what we see and these are the order we want to do it, can pay off by knowing what your next step is going to be. But
Well, and I appreciate what you've done and thank you as far as keeping me ahead with that. But that just goes to show it how many years we've been at it. Like we've got our own work cut out here. Not, I mean, aside from that,
But I realize the timeframe is really not uncommon.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, but I'm saying.
You can't just expect them to do it all. Right, like
Exactly.
there's so much more that goes into,
Well,
and he mentioned like, there's an identity crisis in this town.
yes, absolutely.
And until that can be ironed out along with some other things.
And I'm just saying then it's a good time for us to get a vision, get a plan and work amongst ourselves and the city on where it is we need while they're out there doing all of that work. I guess
Because it
it's
is
kind of what I'm
happening
getting at.
places. I mean, I'm envious, I hate to say that, but I'm envious of Elwood. I'm envious of Gas City. These places are within just miles of us and you can see that. the
We,
growth and
even
the-
Noblesville, I know it's more suburb of Indianapolis, but like, you can just tell the infrastructure that's going in to make that the capacity, right? To be able to handle that much more people, right? Like, we can't just be attracting this big business park and have nowhere for their families to live.
Mhm.
It's all a group effort. And I think, it's possible. It does take a village.
Yeah.
And a vision.
And a
And a
vision.
vision.
Yeah. And just things like, how do we, and this kind of is a little bit off topic in a way, but when I was getting back to the different buildings around here that people can't access in order to put their small business in, it's because they're owned by out-of-state individuals and you can't even track them down. So I know we're not the only community that has that problem too, but how do you go forth and like Cox's Gift Shop is a prime example. So many people, and it still is
It's a nice
nice.
building.
And it's sat there and they live in Utah and I give their address out all the time, write them, ask if they'll sell it or they'll rent it. Like your hands are tied and I hate to see that sit there like that when there's opportunities. And I don't know, so little things like that, like, is there anything? I'm sure we're not the only community that deals with that, but it's
So
aggravating.
two things along those lines. I don't want to dominate your meeting, but
Yeah.
one is, if you look at what Elwood has done, they've gotten their redevelopment commission where they can intercede in some of these properties that are maybe iffy, and when they're on the market, they acquire them. Or if they're in a tax scenario where they try to get control, they've been more proactive and they're working with their own nonprofit. That is a community development organization. Basically, it's a nonprofit that has volunteer staff that can be a shell holding, because there's some legal things you have to do when you do that. And they've been successful at trying to have this vision and where they're going to go with those properties and how that works. And the best test of the marketability of this town is the fact that he put $30 to $40 million down the street, and it's very successful. And so I think for me, that tells me that getting developers to look is going to be very easy. All we'd have to do is what's the vision and how are we going to get there? And what's their role? And then community hospital wants to play a role in looking at land bank in countywide, but they're willing to talk to any town. Now, they probably do not have a direct cash contribution into this other than convening and trying to get it moving. Community hospital and the foundation side has a vision that trying to help the towns kind of step to the next level. And they believe this absentee land, things go to tax sale, somebody spends $300 and they get a building and they live, you know, in Idaho, and it just sits there and continues to decline. He's trying to intercede into that with land bank to try to capture those buildings and then repurpose them. Maybe not necessarily fix them, but just try to control outcomes and uses. And so that's another component that this commission would definitely play a role in, because you are a vehicle that the city can use. But that's something that, you know, if I were, you know, cheap way to do it is get through this next fiscal thing with the council to get these rates where they need to be at. And set up a charrette this summer, have some public sessions with COG. Probably can do that for nothing, and let the community hospital come in and present some stuff about land bank and come out in the fall with some type of a vision of what the community may want to try to do. And, you know, maybe the golf course guy could host some cookies and soda
Yeah.
or something. I don't want to commit anybody, but I mean, the whole idea is that we don't have to spend a lot of money, but we do need to have some like thought of mind. And so when we're confronted with,
That's what,
You have
yeah,
a plan.
I'm trying to
be.
and you're confronted with fiscal issues that have to be addressed, it cannot wait.
Hmm.
It does not go away.
Well, my motto is if you're not going forward, you're going backward.
Your school system did an excellent job on their fiscal strategy, communicating with the neighbors, telling people what they needed to do and move forward with a referendum to get that done. So the community is open for moving forward.
And we just got another bond, and so what we're getting ready to do is, so, I mean, the school is an attraction, I mean, especially.
It is.
Once we get the outside, which is what's coming, soccer field, football field, turf, all that's coming. So, I think, you know, that, I think we have the positives.
The opportunity
There's
is
so much
there.
opportunity.
It's just, yeah.
Get around the corner.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you coming
Thank you
up.
for coming.
All right.
Good to see you.
Where'd my book end up at? Is it
Right
there?
here.
If anybody need anything, questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Any other comments?
Oh, I have one thing to bring up, if it's my time, if that's okay. At the end of the last meeting, there was mention of a virtual participation resolution, so that if one of you wanted to, you know, participate virtually via Teams or Zoom, you could. And so we sat down to draft the resolution, and there's a particular code section that talks about the mandatory requirements you'll need as a commission to include in your policy that establishes the ability to virtually participate. But there's also some optional regulations that you can include in the resolution. So I'm just going to pass out. It's on the second page. Everything on the first page we will include in the policy. They're mandatory, so you don't need to worry about those so much. But under subsection F, there's about 6 different things that you as a board could decide to incorporate in your virtual participation policy. You can include one of them, you can include none of them, you can include all of them. It's just up for discussion. So you guys don't necessarily need to talk about it today unless you want to, or you could take it home and think about it. But once you have an idea of what you'd like to see in your virtual participation policy, we can get that drafted. Yeah, of course.
And redevelopment commissions are different than other entities. There's a statute specifically for
Yep.
you guys, and that's what this is on a virtual meetings.
Yeah, it largely mirrors the general policy, or the general statute, but, there's a couple different numbers. For example, I think that if council were to adopt this, that at least half of the council must always be present in person, but for redevelopment commissions, at least 1/3 of the members must be physically present. So it's a little bit of a lower bar. More of you could potentially participate virtually at once.
We look over it and discuss it maybe next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Yep,
Thank you.
of course.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Ross.
Oh,
You're on.
I had a response from Bill. He said that he was told to leave Jam Building alone. So I think there might have been some miscommunication there. So,
Did you say that? Hidden?
no, he did not. He just said I was told to leave it alone. Sorry.
Okay.
You what?
I'll talk to him.
Okay, thank you. Get some clarity there. So we can get moving on that.
No other comments?
Oh, we're great.
Our next meeting's April 27th, 5:30, same place.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none.
I'm so frustrated.
Now that we've
So
adjourned.
frustrated, but.
A question. So maybe this is old news, but there's this, the wells that have been put in place south of 128.
Yes.
That's the city of Anderson.
Yeah, was that ever a topic?
Never came to us, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that, yeah, that's just been built in the last year. You're aware of it. Yeah.
I've talked to their environmental attorneys about
Yeah, is there any concern
Awareness
there?
exists or?
Is
Yeah.
that's
Aware
still
of it,
considered
aware
our
of
city
it is,
limits?
and-
That's our city limits.
It might be right outside.
Well, but they still use Alexandria.
It was sold in '60s.
Across the street, they go to Highland High School when it was. Highland
I
High
think
School.
the,
The city of Anderson's owned that ground for a long time.
oh, they have? Okay,
It was basically told if they can get the water there, to the location, they can do it. Just let us know.
just curious, because I live pretty close to there.
I've had a couple of people ask me as well, and the only thing I know is that I've been told when I've asked is that it belongs to the city of Anderson. So,
Supposedly they can draw like 3 million gallons a day from there. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's.
Oh, no, because we'll have change.
Hey, good seeing you. Are you gonna get a spring break? Are you gonna get a?
That was fun last week. Florida.
Oh my gosh, we're in
Then
Florida.
Hilton Head, go to Hilton Head, then we go back to Florida. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was beautiful. Hey, good to see Aaron. Yeah. So it was fun. With girlfriends, old girlfriends, old girlfriends.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
December. Not enough of a farm.
When that wasn't here, so she can't vote. I don't know if we even have it.
I have something for you.
Okay, well then, it is 6:18 on Monday, March 23rd. We'll call the Alexandria Planning Commission to order. We'll start with roll calls. Lindsay Cuneo is present. Christina Long. Annette Frazee. Sarah Collins. That Deb Smith and Donna Key are absent. We have our city attorney representative present. And we do not have a quorum, so we will not have any approval of minutes for until next month. We have an update something from this attorney.
So I believe in your last meeting, which was December, you, the commission mentioned wanting a public comment resolution.
Mhm.
So we have that drafted.
Oh, wonderful.
Take a look.
And that's something we can vote on? Yes.
Not if you have a-
Not until next month. Yes, yes.
Do we have a quorum?
We have a forum for today, just not to vote for the minutes. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you got me, I'm counting on my fingers.
Well, they threw me off too, and they were like, we can't approve the minutes because she wasn't here, so it threw me off in my language. So we do have a quorum for today, but we did not have a quorum to approve the minutes for December, so. Sorry. All right, so we have a resolution for public comment, establishing periods for public comment in and during our planning commission meetings. And these are pretty much standardized as far as what we would,
Yeah, so it's, the highlights are that it's on non-agenda items. So anything that's on your agenda, somebody could not stand up and talk about. It's a standard first come, first serve sign up. So somebody will need to post a sign up sheet in the foyer prior to the meeting starting.
okay,
2 minutes per speaker, strictly enforced. A speaker can't give their time to someone else to bolster that person's. Like, you couldn't give all your minutes to one person and they get 10 minutes. The public comment period is not intended to demand an answer. It's just for that individual to speak about whatever they want that's not agenda and then sit back down. There's no question and answer period, nor any discussion from the audience. It has to be civil, and then there's a small provision in there, at the very end about that at the end of the meeting, you as commissioners have an opportunity to provide comments, which I think is something that we've probably always done informally on the commission anyway, but it's at least now here in the resolution as well.
okay.
Am I missing anything, Joel?
Well, looks good to me. Anyone entertain a motion to approve resolution 26-01?
The motion.
Second, okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. So we have adopted resolution 26-01. That will need to be signed by all of us before you leave today. And who will take the final copy? We will?
Yeah, I think typically that's standard.
Okay, so we will sign Christine's copy for that.
And then just, we'll want to make sure that before the next meeting, I'm assuming there's a meeting next month, that there's a sign up sheet that's
That
printed and put in the foyer. So, I think that there's one that council uses, but I'm happy to create one if you guys want. me
Okay.
to.
Okay, I noticed the clipboard out there actually
Yeah.
when I walked in
Yep.
today, so, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, that would be great.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Is there any old business? I don't have any new business. Our building commissioner is not here today. I don't think we have anything else on our agenda today. Is there any comments, anything? No? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Got a motion by Quinette, a second by Sarah. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll see you next month, April 27th, following the redevelopment commission. Everyone have a nice evening.